Call the meeting to order. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and the city in which we live. Guide us this evening as we make our decisions. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
This is the regular meeting of Newnan City Council, August 26, 2025. You have the minutes from the regular meeting of August 12, 2025 before you. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. We adopt the minutes as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. You also have the minutes from the work session of August the 12th, 2025. I'll entertain a motion on those.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. We approve the work session minutes for August 12th, 2025. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Under reports from boards and commission, we have an annual event that's one of the highlights of this council, and it is the swearing in of the new Newnan Youth Council, the students who are here tonight. So we're going to, Miss Cynthia and I always tag team this. She calls out the names. I hand out the certificates. A word of warning, if you are looking for a photo op, we move pretty quickly, but we'll stop for a photo op if you're there with your camera, or your phone. So, Ms. Chicken. Where do you want to go?
I think
Is over here?
just line up across the front here after they get the.
Certificate, because he's going to swear you in. Okay?
All right. This is the swearing in of the Newnan Youth Council, the new members who have come on. This group is the official youth voice of the city of Newnan, and we are so glad and so proud to have these students join us for this school term. So, we have, first off, David Agee, 10th grade, Heritage. Davis, I'm sorry, I said that. Davis. Kenny Banks, 10th grade, East Coweta. Abigail Barrett, 10th grade, Newnan. Caroline Brackett, 10th grade, Northgate. Maria Brady, 10th grade, Newnan. Sam Caldwell, 10th grade, East Coweta. Adeline Craver, 10th grade, Newnan. Kendall Lang, 10th grade, Northgate. Darn Lee, 10th grade, Newnan. Taylor Lynch, 10th grade, Newnan. Ashlyn Mitchell, 10th grade, Newnan. Adler Mall, 10th grade, Northgate. Laura Sears, 10th grade, Newnan.
all to raise your right hand, and I'm gonna say "I," and then I want you to repeat your name. I'm not gonna make you go through the whole oath. So just say your name loud and clear so that your parents and friends can hear you, okay? All right. I, say your name.
Like all at the same time?
All at the same time. I do solemnly swear that I will support, defend, and uphold the Constitution of the United States of America and the laws thereof, and that I will support, uphold, and defend the Constitution and the laws of the state of Georgia, not inconsistent therewith, that I will observe and obey the laws and ordinances of the city of Newnan, and that I will faithfully perform and discharge the duties incumbent upon me as a member of the Newnan Youth Council fairly and honestly, and to the best of my skill and ability. So help me God. If you will say, I will.
I will.
All right. Mayor and council of the city of Newnan, I present to you the newest members of the Newnan Youth Council for the year 2025-2026.
You're very impressive. You'll be a good leader.
Yes, I do. They're watching.
Yeah.
No, they're here.
Once they're here, you're going to, she's going to call.
I didn't get their officers this time, but I will.
We're just letting everyone get settled for a second, then we'll continue with the meeting. All right, Ms. Jenkins will now introduce the other members of the Newnan Youth Council who are attending the meeting this evening. So, Ms. Jenkins.
Thank you. We have a lot more members than this, but what we do is that once per year, each student has to come to a city council meeting where they learn what's going on in our city and take that information back to tell their council members what happened in the meeting, stay connected to what we do here at the City of Newnan. So tonight, we have our first group of the year. That's Sarah Helen Zachary, please stand, senior from Northgate. Macy Bohannon, senior Newnan. Davis Markham, senior Newnan. Yep, stand. Lila McDowell, senior Newnan. Olivia Rodriguez, senior East Coweta. Ellie Bem, junior Newnan. And Dominic Shefferton, junior Heritage.
Thank you for being here. Okay, we'll move on now to appointments for boards and commission. I believe Ms. Jenkins, all three of hers will be on the next agenda. And then Mr. Gritko has a Downtown Development Authority appointment.
I'd like to appoint Mr. Roger Miles.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. We appoint Roger Miles to the Downtown Development Authority. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Mr. Phillips, do you have anything this evening?
I do not, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
I don't have anything this afternoon. Under new business, the first item, Ms. Kelsey has a presentation from Nicholas Cawley for the audited 2024 financial statement.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, City Council, I'm delighted to introduce to you Greg Chapman. I think y'all remember him. He was here last year. He has completed our audit. It was submitted on time in June. We had some timing issues on getting him here, but we are certainly glad he's here. Want to thank him and his team for all the work that they put into this audit and getting it done. Also want to thank our finance department. They did a fabulous job. You'd be very proud of the staff that you have and the work that they do for us. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Greg.
Mr. Chapman, how are you this evening?
Good, how are y'all
Good to
today?
see you again.
Thank you. First off, just want to thank, Mayor and Council and the city for allowing us to perform the audit of the city's financials for the year ended December 31st, 2024. A little bit quickly about our firm, I won't go into that, a long term of that, but we been serving local governments for about 40 years. We're up to a little over 250 team members across, I think, about 7 or 8 offices, from as far up as Rome to as far down as Dublin and Warner Robins. Our job as your auditor is to render an opinion on the financial statements to determine that they are fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So we take the financial information that's provided by the finance department, and we do our tests of sampling and detailed testing on those numbers to render an opinion on whether they're fairly stated. Our audit is performed in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States, and as well as a governmental entity, we have to follow governmental auditing standards, which puts a little more emphasis on the regards of our professional education and independence. Again, our job is to provide reasonable assurance, not absolute. There's no way we can test every number, every transaction in the city, or we would never leave. So we do our sampling and testing to render our opinion on the financials. As far as the results, I'm happy to report that we had an unmodified opinion, which in accounting jargon is a clean opinion on the financial statements, and that purely means that they are fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Also, as a part of our report, we issue a yellow book report, which is on the county's internal control, not from a standpoint to render an opinion on the internal control, but to report any findings that we have in that regard. And I'm happy to report that we had no material weakness or significant deficiencies that we're required to communicate. In addition to our financial statement audit, the city receives a substantial amount of federal funding. Most significant for 2024 was the ARPA grant, as that's continuing to be spent down. If you spend over $750,000, for last year, $750,000. Next year, that limit goes up to $1 million. But if you spend over $750,000, you have to do a single audit on your major federal programs. The one federal program that we were required to test this year was ARPA, and we had no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in that single audit. This year, the city went one step further in the financial reporting and did an annual comprehensive financial report. And what that means is what we've presented in prior years is the required information that the Governmental Accounting Standard Board requires, but you can go one step further with the GFOA, Certificate of Financial Achievement, and you can submit the report to them for grading, and they go through and they compare it to all the requirements, and they will issue, as long as we pass, which I'm confident we will, the city will get a Certificate of Achievement in Financial Reporting. Probably won't see that until almost the time the next audit starts. It takes about 9 months for them to review that report. So we're very hopeful. This is the first year. The city has done those in the past, but a couple years of a gap in that, and we've got that back started, and we'll continue that going forward. Looking at the government-wide financial statements as a whole, again, this is if the city, you're mostly used to looking at fund financial statements, so you don't usually see numbers this big, but the front of your report has government-wide financial statements, which presents the financials similar to the way a business would. So looking at the statement of net position, which is the balance sheet for a better word, total assets and deferred outflows are $238 million. Most of that you see is your capital assets. That's your vehicles, equipment, buildings, infrastructure. Accounts for $176 million of that. 49 of it is in cash and investments. So looking at capital assets and cash and investments, that's the majority of your assets is in those two categories. And then looking down at liabilities, $25.2 million in total liabilities and deferred outflows. 16 of that is non-current liabilities. The city does not have any debt. This is all pension liability and compensated absences, which is accrued vacation and sick leave for employees. And then the net of all of that is your net position or the equity in the city of $213 million on a full accrual basis. Looking at your capital assets, in this graph, the blue line represents the cost basis of assets. So as you buy equipment, roads, buildings, that adds to the blue line, and then the gray line is your accumulated depreciation. A healthy trend would be to see that blue line increasing as the city invests in the infrastructure of the city, and we see that here as the city makes investments in the city's assets. For the general fund, had a little over $38 million in revenues, just over 40 in expenditures, with a net of just over $2 million excess expenditures. Other sources and uses are mostly transfers from other funds, resulting in a net change in fund balance of a deficit of $1.5 million. Saying all of that, the city ends the year with $29 million of fund balance, which is about 7.7 months of fund balance, which is a very strong fund balance for a city. The GFOA recommends a minimum of 2 months, again, a minimum, but I've got cities and counties at all various times based on their situations. I've got counties at the coast that carry close to a year of fund balance because, hurricanes hit, they've got to fund all of that, and then it takes a year or two for FEMA to come through, as y'all well know, to get reimbursed for that. So 7 months is a very, I wouldn't call it excessive, but a healthy fund balance for the city. And why is the fund balance important? It gets you through periods of economic uncertainty. It prevents short-term borrowings. You're not needing to go out mid-year to borrow to get you through to your property tax proceeds come in. It gets you through significant emergencies like the tornado a few years ago. It gives you some flexibility for discretionary funding, and it's good during uncertain economic times. And as I said, the fund balance is about 7 months. That's the trend over the last few years. And I mentioned FEMA, and you can tell where you spent your money for FEMA in 2021. You outlaid some cash for FEMA, and then that came back in a later year to get the fund balance back up. Financial trends, looking at the general fund, 45% of the expenditures in the general fund is public safety. That's very normal for a city or even a county. Mostly 45 to 50% is generally what we see in public safety, 19% on public works. General government, which is your administration, your finance, your purchasing, and those similar departments make up 26%. And then the remainder is the community development, parks and recreation and such that make up the 10%. Just quickly on the sanitation fund, I had a positive change in net position for the year of $341,000. Prior year, that fund had a deficit net position, and that brought that back to a positive standpoint. During our audit, we do issue a letter of required communications to the city. Just a couple highlights. It talks about the major, any accounting policies or disclosures that are significant in the financial statements. We did not have any difficulties dealing with management. Rhonda is a pleasure to work with on getting us what we need for the audit. She gets us what we need very promptly. Y'all very blessed to have her on your team. But she makes the audit very smooth from our side by getting us the information we need very, very timely. No disagreements with management on any accounting matters. No uncorrected misstatements identified during the audit. And we are independent in regards to the city. And what that means is, obviously, my spouse or parents can't serve on city council, but it goes one step further in the fact that I can't perform service to the city that would dictate how you account for something and then come back and audit it. So we can't provide certain services as far as making entries or how to post things. We can provide advice, but I cannot make the decision on how to make those changes. So we are very careful not to do that, so we are not performing any services that would impair our independence. Looking forward for accounting standards, nothing really significant on the radar for the next couple of years. You have GASB 102, which should really have no impact, and GASB 103, which changes a couple of disclosures in the notes and one of the financial statements and MD&A. But as far as the numbers themselves, there's nothing that will require restatements or anything as a part of that. going forward. And again, I appreciate being of service to the city, and we're always here for advice or questions as needed. I'd be happy to answer any questions for y'all.
Yeah, any questions, Mr. Chapman? Hearing none, I'll say thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
I appreciate your service.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. There's no action needed on this particular item, it's presentation only. The next item is consideration of surplus property, a declaration and disposition of capital assets and controlled assets. You have this in your agenda. You've seen the list since last Wednesday. Have you got any questions? If none, I'll entertain a motion. We approve.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second, we approve the consideration of surplus funds, declaration and disposition of capital assets and controlled assets. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those like sign, motion carried. The next is consideration of regulations to establish provisions for keeping of backyard chickens.
Yes, Mayor Brady, members of the council, as you may recall, in 2018, running into 2019, this body considered whether or not we should craft an ordinance to allow for the keeping of backyard chickens. At that time, it was decided not to move forward. In our March 2025 council retreat, the item was brought up yet again and then confirmed at the April 15th meeting that this body wanted staff to prepare something for your consideration. In your packet includes a bulleted list of those items we as staff, in looking at other communities of similar size that allow for the keeping of backyard chickens, it kind of gives us a framework to create an ordinance. So if the will exists among this group, and there's some consensus along those stated potential regulations, the staff's prepared to work with our city attorney to craft an ordinance that we could come back at a later time.
Any questions?
I just have a question, and maybe this is a sticking point. I'm not a farmer, so please take that into account. The 7th bullet point down, no ducks, geese, turkeys, peafowls, pheasants,
right.
quails, male chickens
Yes, sir.
/ roosters. Is that, I've never heard a term as a male chicken. It's always just been roosters.
So no
That defines
roosters.
it for sure.
We don't want roosters, they're loud.
So do we need to have male chickens then?
No.
Well, we can get into that.
Anyways, it's just minor.
That's right.
I
yeah.
mean,
But
all right, so we're going to discuss the fine points, or we just say go look for it?
If the consensus is the group that they're supportive of these points here, then we'll proceed with creating an ordinance that attends to these. But if there's something in here that you want to bring out and discuss, I guess now's the time.
Well, one thing that I first proposed the ordinance back in 2018, and some of the research that the staff did, some of the cities would limit the number of chickens to 3, where that says 6, I think, in there. And also that you had to have a minimum square foot per chicken available, and then all the rest of the stuff is similar in the setbacks, and if there's any, you don't have roosters, Dustin, you want to make sure what that is. And then you also have to, if you have any odors or noise problems, you know, if it's reported to the city, they've got to fix that, or we do it. And then some of the other things, I think, fall on the homeowner as far as worried about predators and things like that. I mean, that's anybody that owns chickens is going to protect their chickens if they want them. So hopefully that'll take care of that.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have a comment concerning this. And I'll just make it real simple for me, is reading through this information, and particularly when we talk about the city animal control officer, all these, I don't see any positive to this. So we're having a work session related to chickens for the sake of a few who want to be able to have fresh eggs at the expense of many, because it seems to me, it seems to me that many will be affected adversely, quite frankly, in neighborhoods. It's a reason why HOAs don't have these types of permissions to have chickens in the backyard. Well, and just let me finish, please.
All right.
So really where I'm having a hard time is who is going to monitor this and the expense of this, and who's going to call who, because I've dealt with that as president of an HOA when we had an issue of somebody attempting to raise chickens on the back of their property and what we had to deal with, et cetera. So I'm just afraid what it's going to take to deal with this, to get it to a place where compatibility and people somebody's going to do complain, somebody's going to raise more or want more than they actually got, and you're really, really talking about a small section of the city that's going to be affected. District 1, there would be absolutely zero lots that would be permissible for this. So you're really talking about District 1, District 2, and District 3, and then you have to go to the size of the property. There's a reason why y'all didn't continue this way back when, in what, 18, 19? Not 18, 19, but in 2018. Has it been around that long? So, I just have a real hard time for me to even pursue this down the road, so I'll like to hear anybody refute anything I said. When you go down all these bullet points, there's not one positive thing in it, aside from somebody gets fresh eggs every now and then.
I'd like to make a comment. I support this. I mean, I'm with you. Not every ordinance we have applies to every single citizen. So I don't see that as a reason why I'd do an ordinance. But, you know, I grew up with my grandmother having chickens, a chicken coop, and it's where my office is. And so we didn't have roosters, and roosters really are what the problem is. I mean, they are loud, they get up really early, and I don't like to get up as early as a rooster. But chickens don't make any noise. I'm not going to say where, but somebody near my office, it has dogs or puppies that they put outside when the weather's nice. And it makes a lot of noise. They make a lot of noise. So the chickens don't make that kind of noise. I mean, unless you have a rooster, the chickens don't make any noise. So I don't see it being a noise situation. And then, you know, from a smell, I think that has to be, you know, addressed, and that's in here. No different than, again, if somebody has dogs and they don't clean up after their dogs, I've smelled that before. So I don't see this as really that much of a negative, as much as there are people that are leaning toward kind of going back to the way it was, you know, where you could grow your own food and have your eggs and small gardens. And, you know, back in the Victory Gardens, they were back in the war. I mean, we had that, and I had that growing up. And so I personally look forward to having this as an option. I can't say that I'm going to have chickens or not yet, but I'd like to know that if I wanted to have chickens, that I have the ability to raise my own chickens. So that's kind of my comment.
My comment to that is, you're not really bothered until they live next door to you, and then you could be adversely affected. I would like to go to, you guys are in real estate, I've been in real estate, I've never had to deal with chickens and sell a house living next door to chickens. How does that affect property value? What would be the perception there?
Depends on whether or not you like chickens.
Well, there you go.
I mean, it's, the HOA, I just said, that and anybody who lives in a HOA area is that, those
covenants with it.
regulations are going to trump this.
Yes, sir.
So
What's that now?
those HOA regulations.
That's
are gonna
exactly my
trump
point. They
the law.
trump this for a reason.
All right, but HOA has a lot more restrictions besides chickens that they do in my yard, right?
But there are a lot of people who move to an area that has an HOA because they want an HOA.
Correct. But there's a reason those, and you know, you've dealt with HOAs, there's a
Sure.
reason those stipulations and those ordinances and those, everything's in the wordings in there as to not permit it, as to why the adverse, in my opinion, the adverse negative effect on the community as well as property values. I guess you probably know where I stand on this, but I'm just having a hard time with it, man. It just, you know, I like fresh eggs just like everybody else. But if I want fresh eggs, I'm gonna go buy them somewhere. I don't want to need to have chickens too, but it just seems to me, quite frankly, I'll end with this, that we're having a discussion and want to change things so a few people who want to go, and I get going back to the old ways. I grew up on a farm. Mom and dad canned stuff. I mean, I understand all that. But we didn't go far as chickens or raised livestock, so.
Okay.
All right, I end with that.
So let me ask a question. Is there a consensus here to move forward with this?
Yes.
I'd like staff to, yes.
Okay.
I do, I
No.
agree.
Okay.
But I have a question for planning. I know this is kind of very in its infancy stage, and I said, planning department, Mr., I appreciate the diligence of going into this, because this is I think, a good write-up with some good limits on it. Talking about putting it, HOAs, most of the time the HOAs are in small lots. Roughly about what size of a lot or a yard would somebody have to be able to meet all the setbacks from property lines and stuff like that? I mean, so it's a pretty sizable property, I would think, having only in the side or backyard and 20 feet from the rear or side property lines.
That's correct.
It seems like it'd still be a pretty sizable, so I think it'd be a fairly minimal number of yards.
Well, Dustin, if it's 20 on each side, and then you have to have, if you would come out with 25 and you have one chicken, that's a 5 by 5, so it could be less than, that's less than 50 feet. So it could, a 50-foot lot width-wise would conform with that.
It depends on like the size, the shape of the house and the yard. There's a lot of factors going into it. I was kind of just
You
curious.
got to have depth too, but your
Yeah,
50-foot
exactly.
wide would probably be the minimum.
So I think overall, there's a lot of yards that are too small to accommodate something like this. So it's kind of
Well-
self-limiting right there.
Exactly. So is there a motion to instruct staff to move forward?
I make that motion.
Second?
Motion is second to instruct staff to move forward. Any other discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Nay.
6-1 vote. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda today is a consideration of Farmer Street Cemetery Improvement Project.
Yes, Mayor Brady, members of the council, as I introduce this item and we consider it, or as a group, I'd like to call attention, there are a number of members of the Farmer Street Cemetery Commission who helped us get here today. And so I just want to thank them in front of the crowd for their work as volunteers to serve. In 2020, this council reestablished the Farmer Street Cemetery Commission with the idea of providing recommendations to preserve, protect, promote, and maintain the Farmer Street Cemetery. Over the subsequent many years, this body, that group, did work with different consultants to identify the number of potential burial sites at that, as well as to do a literature review, work in the community, build consensus among individuals throughout the community about what the proper treatment and recognition should be. The last activity included engaging Pond & Company, a well-known firm out of Atlanta that does a lot of architecture and engineering work, and they provided construction documents that you can see somewhat above you and in your packet here. This was led in concert with the commission, and then there were touch points at which those consultants came, and you probably recall came and made presentations to this body. Today, what we have is the final documents and a potential phased plan for making these improvements. If I can draw your attention to the screens above, the areas called out in blue are potentially one phase. The areas in the green are another phase. They've been ordered 1 and 2, blue being 1, green being 2, by the architects and engineering firm for obvious reasons. But what I'd like to do is draw out those activities in phase 1 is primarily the construction of a masonry and aluminum perimeter fencing along Farmer Street. It's more decorative in nature, as well as the rehabilitation and reconstruction of the drive entrance, a driveway circle, additional parking, some stormwater along that, and then the first leg, if you will, of a path that allows visitors to enter the Farmer Street Cemetery. That would be included in phase 1. Potential cost for that is a total of $664,500. That's included in your packet as well, called out on the left-hand side of that diagram in blue lettering. Phase 2 would continue with perimeter fencing around the back of the property, as well as the addition of more trails. These trails in phase 2 would be hand dug and would receive a mulch treatment and allow visitors to move throughout the rest of the Farmer Street Cemetery to experience it, and the potential cost for that, as estimated by Pond & Company, is $681,500. As you know, because we've talked about this at retreat and other things, we currently have no assigned funding for this. And so the recommendation from staff is to consider phase 1 now, proceed with those improvements, and use funds from unassigned fund balance for that. I can answer any questions you may have.
Questions of Mr. Craver. I do have someone who is in attendance tonight who indicated that they wanted to speak to this issue. Is this Danny Allen? Is that Dr. Allen?
Danny Wilkes.
How are you, sir?
I'm well tonight,
Good. Before we have a motion on this, it would preclude you from speaking. I'd like you to come up and have an opportunity to speak.
Well, certainly we honor the members of the City Council. I stand before you today with profound gratitude, since this historic significance is so important. On behalf of the African American Alliance with responsibility for the African American Heritage Museum and Research Center, I extend a heartfelt thank you for passing this, or it hadn't been done yet, of the redevelopment of the burial ground. A huge thank you goes out to the Farmers Street Cemetery Commission for the work dedicated to it. This moment really marks a culmination of many years of unwavering dedication, perseverance, and hope. For over 2.5 decades, our community has advocated for the respectful development of this sacred site where our ancestors rest. These individuals whose stories and contributions have shaped the fabric of our city will finally receive the dignity they deserve. As we celebrate this milestone, we look forward to the completion of the project, envisioning a final product that honors the memory and legacy of those buried here. We believe that this redevelopment will not only beautify our city, but also serve as a testament to the enduring spirit and resilience of our community. We appreciate your leadership and your commitment to preserving our history and our culture. We look forward to continuing our collaboration with city officials to ensure that our burial ground becomes a symbol of pride, remembrance, and unity to all Newnan citizens. Thank you for your vision and your support. We're eager to see the finished product and to celebrate the rich heritage that makes Newnan a beautiful city for everyone, especially with the 200-year anniversary of Newnan in clear view. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. Okay, are there any questions from council or staff regarding the presentation?
I do.
Okay.
I see that the blue area is really doing its best to hug right up on the line, because we've got a lot of, if you look at the overlay, and it's a little difficult to see it on the outline of the drawing, but the little red dots that are very faint are where there are possible graves. So I want to know, we have taken into consideration that how close this construction is going to the graves, that we are being very careful about disturbing them. There are some even on the other side of the road that's currently there, according to this map. But I see the buffer area and the parking and all that other is either close or on top of, in some ways, some of that. So I want to know that we have taken that into consideration?
Fully, yes. Great question. Yes, just for the audience's sake, correct. Yes, there are potential burial sites noted and shown throughout this diagram, that graphic up there. But yes, part of, I think, the cost to do this is it's very sensitive construction.
Okay. And do we have plans in place that if, in fact, ground penetrating radar missed this, if we run upon something, that we're going to handle that very respectfully?
Yes. I mean, I can't say that there is a plan now, but yes, that'll be one of the qualifiers when we consider the contractors, that, that they have experience in this work and they're aware of that, and that our construction admin team that would be out there monitoring the day-to-day work would be very in tune to that.
Okay.
And so what you're saying, it'll be part of the request for proposal
Yes, sir.
as
Yeah.
it comes back to it.
Yeah,
So
when
we'll
we-
know exactly what the scope of work is and what the sensitivity level is.
If you're asking to approve the request when they come back, yeah, we would let the contract, we would hire a firm, bring that back to you with a
right.
recommendation, which firm, at what price, and you would vote on it at that time, yes, sir.
Right.
So that would be something that we would want on the staff side to know, that the firm selected would have those unique qualifications to know how to deal with the sensitive.
That's right. That's my point.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all so much. This has been a very long time coming.
Okay, any other questions?
One question, Haskell,
Yes, sir.
the funding source again? You
Unassigned
recommend-
fund balance,
Unassigned,
yes,
okay.
sir, yeah. As you just saw from our auditor, he gave us a presentation, but, I had our finance manager run that this morning, and we have currently $25.9 million in unassigned fund balance.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the funding source of unassigned as recommended, that we proceed with Phase 1, and that we release that for bids.
Second.
Motion is second. Further discussion?
I do have a question, and I know this has been talked about quite a bit. And I'm really concerned about some of the parking spots are over, it looks like, some of the sites. And because the sites are just very sporadic, and it's hard, it's gonna be so hard to miss those. And the parking spots look like that number 4 or somewhere in there, in the parking area. And I'm trying to do the best I can by trying to overlay
Yeah,
those two together. It looks like,
If you don't,
because it's.
the two documents you're looking at are not to scale, so, or like to put one over the other, I think, but the firm that was hired took into account the location of all known mapped anomalies. And so the improvements shown here, not only in Phase 1, but in Phase 2, accommodate that. And so no improvements will be made at or on any of the known anomalies and burial sites.
So this is just enhancing the road that exists and
Yes, sir.
adding
a
some
few
parking spots there to the
additional parking
side.
spaces, yes, sir.
All right,
Okay, any other questions?
thank you.
You're welcome.
Do have a motion to second. We approve as presented. Any other discussion? Okay, I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you for that tonight. Under unfinished business, the first item is consideration of amendment to the zoning ordinance to add new section 3-14, residential accessory uses, short-term rentals. Mr. Smith, how are you?
Yes, good evening, Mayor, good evening, council. At the last council meeting, you all had some questions and concerns relative to the compliance section of this ordinance. We did go back, and what we were presenting to you is highlighted in blue are the changes. I think one of them was a concern that if someone has a complaint that we requested they go to the operator first. We didn't make that a requirement, we've made it an option. They have the option if they wish to communicate with that neighbor first, or they can bypass that and complain directly to the city. Secondly, there was some concern about the use of the term unabated. We removed that terminology and just simply put that the complainant may submit a written complaint to the city of Newnan, and the complaint will describe what has been done or what hasn't been done to try to resolve the complaint, and we'll investigate that complaint when it comes in. But those are the changes that we made based on the feedback we received August 12th.
Any questions of Mr. Smith? Anyone? I believe we continued that public hearing, didn't we?
We closed it.
Okay,
We closed the public hearing. That
Okay.
is correct.
So we don't have a public hearing on this. Anyone else from council have any other questions? Is there a motion? Motion on the issue. Going once. Twice. Ms. Smith, thank you for your work. We appreciate it very much.
You're welcome.
Item dies for a lack of motion. The next item on the agenda, I'm going to ask Mayor Pro Tem Jim Thomason to handle. This is a public hearing on 3000 McIntosh Parkway, and the reason I'm asking him to do that is that I have a conflict with the purchase of the property in my business. So,
Thank you.
Mr. Thomason?
Mr. Smith, council has received a letter from the applicant requesting a continuance until November 25th so that they can work on issues related to pedestrian safety across McIntosh Parkway. So I'll ask council if you have any questions of the applicant of this request. Is there a motion to accept this request?
And so moved.
But
Excuse me?
if we could, since the public hearing was advertised for tonight, what I would prefer to have, the request is for November, because that's 3 months down the line, would be that the motion would be to continue the item on the agenda to a date certain, which would be the November meeting, But because of the delay, I would suggest re-advertising and reposting the property for the new hearing date at the applicant's expense.
Very good. So you want all that in the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
I agree to it. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Ask Mr. Brady to come back.
Chief.
Okay, the next item on the agenda then this evening is, Mr. Smith, you're still up. This is a public hearing. I'll open a public hearing this time on RZ 202506, request to rezone 22.3 acres, tax parcels 08720, 2027-008 and 0872027 011 from RS 20 to OI 1. Mr. Smith?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, Council. You see in the visual before you the affected parcels that are under consideration. This is a city-initiated rezoning. The project is the Coweta County Administration Building. On March 18th of this year, both the City of Newnan and the county adopted resolutions requesting annexation of these two subject parcels. Annexation was approved through House Bill 838, signed into law May 13th, 2025. Upon annexation, the property defaulted to RS-20 zoning, which does not permit the intended government institutional use. Rezoning to OI-1 is required to allow the construction of the new Coweta County Administration Building. In terms of the standards we use for assessing rezonings, annexations, we find this request does meet all the 8 standards, and just real briefly, we'll run through those. We find it is compatible with nearby development, so it is suitable of use. No adverse impacts are anticipated, so there's no potential adverse impact on adjacent property. The current zoning of RS-20 limits the ability to do the intended use. In fact, it prohibits it. Public facilities impact will be served by county utilities. No burden is anticipated. Comprehensive plan compatibility, although not designated, but it is consistent with similar nearby uses. Consistency with the OI-1 zoning, permits office institutional facilities, so it is consistent with that. Support from changing conditions. The county relocation of offices was not anticipated by the comprehensive plan, but the site and location is suitable for such a purpose. Public welfare balance. The request does provide a reasonable balance. July 8th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing. At the conclusion of that hearing, they voted 6-0 to recommend approval. You all held a work session August 12th where this matter was discussed. The full and complete report is available if anyone wishes. It's also available on our website, but that's just a brief summary, and that concludes staff's report.
Okay, there's no reason to ask for the applicant to come forward because we are the applicant in this situation, but this is a public hearing, so I would ask if there's anyone opposed to this rezoning.
Thank you.
This would be your opportunity to come forward and speak in opposition of the rezoning at this point in time. I see no one coming forward, so I'm going to close the public hearing at this time. Ask council if we have any questions of staff regarding the rezoning. All right, if there are no questions regarding the rezoning, I'd ask for acceptance of the Planning Commission report. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. We accept the Planning Commission report as written. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next is to adopt the ordinance to amend the zoning map for subject properties. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Smith.
Thank you.
The next item under visitors, this is a request from RPM to close Madison Street between Jackson Street and Jefferson Street for events on September 14th and October 19th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second, we approve as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. You've got a perfect record coming before us, so you not have to speak. Thank you, we appreciate it. Okay, the next is a request from Newnan High School to close streets for their annual homecoming parade, September the 18th, 2025. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, we approve the request from Newnan High School to close streets for the annual homecoming parade on September the 18th, 2025. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. The next and final item on the agenda this evening is a request from Coweta County NAACP Youth Council for the Juneteenth parade to be a standing yearly parade. We have a speaker here this evening. If you'd like to state your name for the record, please.
Dylan Terrell.
Nice to have you here. We appreciate you being here.
All right.
You have the floor.
Okay. Hello, Mayor Brady and councilmen and women. My name is Dylan Terrell. I am the president of the NAACP Coweta County Youth Council, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the NAACP Coweta County Youth Council. And I would firstly like to extend our heartfelt gratitude for your support of our 2025 Juneteenth parade. And given the positive reception of that parade, I would like to formally request that our Juneteenth parade be recognized by the city to take place annually every third Saturday of June.
All right, thank you. So it may not wind up on that date every year, it's just the third Saturday?
Yes.
That's what you're asking for, okay. All right, so other questions or comments?
No, just to say that I had very positive comments from the community about it last year, and I look forward to seeing it again.
So would
Thank
you
you.
like to make a motion?
And I will make the motion to approve that request.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, we approve the request for the Juneteenth parade to be a standing yearly parade. Any discussion?
I have a question, since, and this is just a matter of, all the other private parades and stuff like that still have to go through an annual process. They have to pay the fees and all that kind of stuff. And just making sure we have city resources, I think that's kind of the process to make sure that, y'all aren't caught, nobody's caught without, having the barricades and closing the road. Is that something that we still need to maintain because there's no other private organization that has
Well,
it?
there's currently 3 standing parades, and this will be the 4th standing parade. I'm not aware of any additional parades at this particular time. We obviously have the MLK parade. We have the Newnan Homecoming Parade, the 4th of July Parade, and the Christmas Parade. Well, actually, this will be the 5th standing parade. I'm not aware of any other parades. I don't know if you may be referring to more of the road race events.
I'm talking about, road race, any of the private.
We've got a really, really good handle right now. I mean, Chief is shaking his head on the road races right now. The policy that this particular council adopted last year has really helped tremendously on the road races. So I think we're in a good position, and I know that managing this particular parade was very well organized. We got some very positive remarks on this one too, so we have no concerns.
Okay, it's not like something we need
No.
to do like a 5-year,
No, it's fine.
time period.
Okay. Any other comments? I have a motion and a second to approve as presented. Any discussion, further questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you.
That ends our regular agenda, ladies and gentlemen. We do have a need for a legal executive session, so I'm going to ask Mayor Pro Tem Thomason to read the motion to take us into that executive session.
I move that we now enter into closed session as allowed by OCGA 50-14-4 and pursuant to advice by the city attorney for the purpose of legal, and that we, in open session, adopt a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor or presiding officer to execute an affidavit in compliance with OCGA 50-14-4, and that this body ratify the actions of the council taken in a closed session and confirm that the subject matters of the closed session were within exceptions permitted by the open meetings law.
Second.
Motion a second that we adjourn into an executive session for legal issue. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you for being here tonight, ladies and gentlemen.